After 4 years of searching, Pacific FC have finally found their Alejandro Diaz replacement, and his name is Alejandro Diaz. Tridents announced on Wednesday that the 29-year-old forward is back with the club. He spent the past few seasons with Vancouver FC, obviously their Salish Sea Derby rival, but he's back on Vancouver Island. He's second all time in the CPL in terms of scoring with 39 goals. We know this Pacific FC team need goals, Alex. They have just 42 in 43 matches over the past 2 seasons in the CPL. Only 20 of those have come from open play. We know Diaz can score. We know we've talked a lot about how at least his profile has been the missing piece for this Pacific FC team for some time. Is this the missing piece for Pacific, Alex?
It's definitely one of them. And they've really just had this giant hole since he left in 22. And they've had some pretty decent strikers come in and try to replace him. I especially think top of mind in Easton Ongaro. You wondered how he was going to fare. You know, they got to bring a guy like Rion Moore was another guy where he seemed like to have potential, but it just didn't click. Some other names too I'm missing in there. But for all the attempts they've had to replace Alejandro Diaz, they can never quite find a guy who would lead the line, who would, drop deep, who would run the channels, who would get on the end of crosses. And he was just doing everything for Pacific when he was there. Remember when he was playing as a number 8, even once or twice when James Merriman really needed him. So I think that it's huge for Pacific to have a focal point, because a lot of their offensive struggles all stem from that. Like, I think of the teams over the last 2 years where they would create all the chances and they just wouldn't finish. And now this year the chances have dropped, but it feels like a guy like Marco Bustos, with some of the crosses he's putting in, like they're not even getting the chances because no one's on the end of these crosses. There's, no one for a Josh Hurd to run in behind and then cut it back to, because, maybe their strikers have different instincts. So Diaz, I think, is huge because this style of play with Pacific, they've kind of maintained it over the last few years, but it was so dependent on that trip of the tip of the trident, pun, I guess, somewhat intended. And so it'll be nice for them to have that tip back, because they never really seem to replace it.